Good morning, good morning, good morning, good day, maybe even good afternoon or good evening, depending on when you're watching this. Welcome to the Simply I Can Win show with your host, Samuel I Can Win ICanWin. Guys, it is a pleasure to be here for day 2. Yo! Yes, it's day 2 of the 14 days of purpose, 14 days on purpose. And guys, you know what? Today's kind of interesting for a number of reasons. One of the reasons is because we're actually broadcasting live at the time I believe I wanted to broadcast from the first inception, the first idea of this particular 14-day program. Look, let me start by pulling my chair right back up. Out of the excitement, I pumped my chair all the way down. And then I'm just way too low for you guys. So let's get right back into place so we can have a great show for today. And we've got so much to go through in today's show as well. I hope you guys are ready for it. What I want to do to get us started for today's show, we had an audio issue this morning, which was part of the reason it took us a little bit while longer to actually broadcast, to get me out to you. So guys, what I want you to do is just let me know if you can hear me. If you can hear me, let me know you can hear me, and I'm gonna go straight in. I'm gonna jump straight in with today's content. All right, so let me know if you can hear me in the comments and in the live chat. Those of you who are live, this is one of the great things about having these sessions live, is the simple fact that we can work together. We can make sure that we're all in good stead. Oh, amazing. We got Ellie Ballroom in the chat who says, top of the morning, y'all. Happy Saturday. Taking you another step closer to knowing and fulfilling your purpose. Boom. Come on, guys. Look at that comment. That is a powerful comment to get us started. And Ellie Ballroom goes on to say, I can hear you. Thank you, Ellie Ballroom, for your participation. And thank you for helping every single person on the stream so we don't waste any time with today's session. Now, yesterday we had a powerful session. And today's session, in my opinion, is going to be even more powerful because of some of the content we're going to cover. Now, in today's session specifically, we are not only going to be speaking about some helpful questions in order to get you started as you start focusing on your purpose, but we're going to go deeper than that. We're going to go way deeper than the helpful questions. We're going to take this to a place where we start looking at a specific character in the Bible, a specific person the Bible kind of really documents their life and follows their life from a fairly reasonable age up until a fairly old age, in order for us to learn quite a few things about purpose and about other things related to purpose. But then side by side with that, not only are we going to look at this person's life, we're also going to talk about a few principles. And, you know, I am so passionate about principles. I think it's a great place to start right now. So let's jump into one of the principles first. And if you're one of the people like myself, you got your notepads, your iPads, your styluses, your pens, your papers, just start taking notes right now because you're going to get value from the top of this session. Now, first thing I want to share with you guys, something I actually wanted to share on yesterday's live on day 1, but we didn't have enough time to actually do that. But I want to make sure that I get this over to you because I do not want this concept to be one that is lost. This is a concept that was downloaded to me yesterday. And yesterday I definitely wanted to give it to you guys. So let me make sure that I give it to you now. Now, yesterday we spoke about the question, what is purpose? What does purpose mean to you? What does purpose mean for you? Okay, does anybody remember that? If anybody remembers that, you know, you can just write in the live chat, I remember. If you're watching this on a replay, you can write in the replay, I remember. And before I forget, if you haven't hit that like button. Side by side with that, press subscribe, and side by side with that, hit the bell notification so you can stay up to date every single time we go live, every single time we're actually pushing out another one of these 14-day videos. And again, this is day 2 of the 14-day journey. So before you know it, the 14-day journey will be over, but that's just the way things work. Now, if you're someone who's joining us for the first time, feel free after this video to go back and watch the precursor video, which was around 30 minutes long, and then watch the day 1 video, which was around roughly 1 hour and 50 something minutes, where we really delved into yesterday on day 1, what does purpose mean to you? Okay, and we spoke about purpose. We spoke about purpose from a dictionary definition, an online, you know, Google search definition. We spoke about it from a biblical definition, and we also delved into a few other concepts and principles which would be extremely and uniquely powerful for anyone who really wants to take their life in the right direction. Now, for today, this morning, we're going to be speaking about something a little bit different. So let me jump into the key verse for today. The key verse for I guess this is more of a banner key verse. So this is for yesterday and today. And then we're going to use that to push a whole lot forward. So we're going to start in Hebrews chapter 10, okay? The book of Hebrews. If you're new to the Bible, this is in the New Testament. The New Testament is the part of the Bible that was written from around the time just before Jesus being born. So the New Testament is very much focused on the life of Jesus in an obvious way, whereas the Old Testament, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Bible, is focused on the life of Jesus in a very inconspicuous way, okay? And those of you who are Bible students, who you've been working with the Bible for a while, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Those of you who are new to the Bible, you might find this out after a while, but it's all good. It's all about the value. So Hebrews chapter 10, I'm going to read verse 38. It says a very powerful thing, and I think it's extremely helpful for us to use this as a foundation as we're talking about what does purpose look like in today's session. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 38, it says, now the just, okay? So I want you to think about this. You know, just means people that operate with justice. Just means people that are going to do the right thing. Now the just shall live by faith, okay? The just shall live by faith. Very powerful statement, but we're going to go deeper into this. It goes on and says, but if any man draw back, my soul shall have no pleasure in him, okay? So this was one of the patriarchs, not patriarchs. This was one of the apostles, one of the people who were helping the people who are interested in the things of God to move forward, okay? And this person says, look, the way that the just live, the way that the people who are going to be operating in justice, the way that people who are going to do things right are going to live, the way they're going to live, okay? I want you to think about that word live, because for us today, we speak about the word live as though it means survive, okay? And I want you to understand the word live and survive are two different words, okay? People that are surviving and people that are living are two different groups of people. Now, what happens for many people is because they go to certain kind of churches, they get convinced that surviving is living, okay? And living and surviving are two different things, okay? You know, I give you an example just to help you. Again, Bible students, those of you who are new to the Bible, just write this down. You can check it out when you have some time. Actually, don't do that, because I don't like it when I hear people say that, so I won't do that. Let's go to Psalm chapter 1. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. All right. Psalm chapter 1 gives us a great description of what God sees as people living, okay? And I'm going to read Psalm chapter 1, a few verses to you. It's only a 6-verse chapter anyway. But Psalms chapter 1, this is the Old Testament now, where the Bible speaks about Jesus in a more inconspicuous way. Psalm chapter 1, it says, blessed the man that walks not in the counsel of the ungodly. Now, if you do not walk in the counsel of the ungodly, i.e., if you don't take advice from ungodly people, you are most likely going to be a just person. So in Hebrews 10:38, when it says the just shall live by faith, what it's basically saying is these people that choose not to take advice from the ungodly people, they're the just people. But what do we actually recognize in Psalm chapter 1 about these people? The Bible says they are blessed. Now, if you've never heard of the word blessed, which I'm sure you probably have, but from a biblical definition, a great way to understand what the word blessed means is empowered to prosper. I want you to write that down, okay? If you are blessed, you are empowered to prosper. That means you've been given an empowerment, an ability to actually succeed, to do well. So blessed means empowered to prosper. Let's keep going. It says, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners. So what that means is they're not in the path that sinners are in. They're not in the path that people who want to do the opposite things that God wants them to do are in. It goes on to say, nor sits in the seat of the scornful. Equally, like I mentioned yesterday, they're not critics. They're not sitting down in the seat of the people that say, hey, look at this guy, look at that guy, look at this thing, look at that thing. They're not in the seat of the scorners, okay? Go forward. It goes, but his delight is in the law of the Lord. Again, this is someone who's just because they're interested, they're delighted in the things that God says is his law, and in his law does he meditate day and night. So that's what he's breathing. He's meditating, thinking about the things of God in the daytime and also at the nighttime. It goes on to say, and he shall be, and this is the verse I wanted to get to, and he shall be like a tree. And this, again, this applies to females as well. We're talking about humanity when we say he here. And he and they shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth their fruit in their season. Their leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he does shall prosper. And this is, again, it goes back to the definition of the root word blessed. You know, blessed is empowered to prosper. So let me get into this with you. The just shall live by faith. This is what we read in Hebrews chapter 10 verse 38. This is going to be our key verse of scripture for yesterday and today as we talk about purpose. The just shall live by faith. So if you are going to be a person who's operating in justice, which is a person who's operating in their purpose, operating in the reason you were created, again, going back to day one, if you haven't seen the day one video, after this video, make sure you watch the day one video. Someone who's going to operate based on their purpose, someone who's going to get the most out of their purpose is someone who's operating in what we call justice, okay? Because as I mentioned yesterday, a product is not as important as its purpose. So if you understand the purpose that you were made and you operate based on that purpose, you're now operating in what we call justice because you're doing the right thing. You're doing that which is just according to the person who created you, according to the way you were created, and according to your purpose on this earth. Now, if we understand what we read in Hebrews 10 verse 38, the just shall live. Now again, live does not mean survive. Live means live, thrive. Live means succeed. Live means be blessed. The just shall be blessed, but the just shall operate. The just shall move and have a mechanism which is by faith, okay? And you know, those of you who read the Bible, you will know that a definition of faith is in the Bible. It says faith is. So whenever it tells you something is, that's part of a definition, if not its entire definition. It says in the Bible, faith is the substance of the things we hope for, the evidence of the things that are not yet seen. So guys, if you're a Bible student and you know where that verse is, feel free to just throw it in the chat for those of us who are watching along in the stream. Now, if we understand that the just shall live by faith, we understand that the just are the people who are operating in their purpose, then we understand that faith is a key and fundamental currency in the effective pursuit of purpose, okay? So I want you to write that down. Faith, okay, is a key and a fundamental currency in the effective pursuit of purpose, okay? So any person who's attempting to pursue their purpose, I want you to understand one very, very simple thing. You need faith. You will need faith. Faith is going to be the fundamental currency, okay? And by currency, what do I mean? Well, these here are cards, okay? And these type of cards are used in order to acquire things, okay? So you can walk into a place, you can swipe a card, and from swiping a card, people will give you goods, okay? And that's what a currency is. A currency is something you use to exchange for things, okay? These here are renditions of financial banknotes, fiat currency as it's called, okay, in different nationalities in that regard. But these are the same thing. These are renditions of something we can exchange in order to receive something else, and we call that currency, okay? Now the word currency, those of you who've done any studies on currency will understand that part of the reason it comes, or part of the reason it's called currency, is because the definition comes from the same root word that we have of a current. A current is something which allows a stream or river to become stronger and allows there to be flow, and that's how we end up getting words like cash flow, etc., etc., or terminology like cash flow. Now, what does all of that mean? It all is quite simple. It basically means that currency is what we use to exchange something we have, whether it be fiat currency, pounds, dollars, etc., for something we desire, whether it be bread, whether it be clothes, whether it be a home, whether it be etc., etc. Now, why is this important? The reason it's important is because I've just said to you that faith is a fundamental currency in the effective pursuit of purpose. And what that basically means is, in order for you to achieve your purpose, you're going to be having to spend faith. You're going to be having to invest faith. You're going to be having to utilize faith as the currency to take you from where you are at to where you're going. Okay, and I want you to be very, very mindful of that, because there's many people who are not aware of that. There are many people who don't realize they need to use faith on a daily basis. Now, an example I give to people on a very regular basis is the way that we walk into a room, we turn on a light. Okay, when we walk into a room, we turn on a light switch, and we have faith, we have belief, we have hope that the light is going to turn on. And 99 times out of 10, what happens? The light comes on. Even in cases where the light bulb may blow, we still have the light come on for at least an instant, which allows our faith to receive more validation, to have more faith the next time we turn on the light switch. And it's the same with a chair. When you sit on a chair, you have faith that that chair is not going to break and tumble under you, which is why you take the action, because you have the belief before taking the action. What people don't realize is faith is a fundamental currency in the effective pursuit of your purpose. So I want us to start with that. I want you to have that in your notes. I want you to be ready to engage with that concept and use that concept as we go forward, understanding that faith is a key currency, okay, if we are going to live a life that is exchanging our purpose for our current situation, our purpose for where we want to go, our purpose for what we believe we were created for, our purpose for where we're going in life. I want you guys to understand that fundamentally, because it's essentially very, very powerful as a concept. So let's jump into this. We're playing with words already, so let's jump into another kind of wordplay, which I think is going to be really, really helpful for you. Purpose. Okay, so this is what we're spending 14 days, with this being day 2, talking about purpose. And I want to say something to you guys, because I want you guys to pick this up. Again, it's another concept I'm putting down. So hopefully you guys will pick this up and utilize this to the degree that it can be utilized for you, because this, again, is a very, very key fundamental aspect of what we're talking about now. The word purpose, okay, is very, very similar, okay, very, very similar to the word propose. Now, as I mentioned, this was one of the concepts I wanted to share with you guys yesterday, and I didn't unfortunately get enough time. I actually forgot more than anything, but I didn't get enough time to really share and convey this as well. But the word purpose is very similar to the word propose, and I don't think that is a coincidence. So I want to encourage you guys to go and do your research. Go and do your research on the words purpose and propose, and look at the connections in terms of their roots, okay? Whether you're going as far back as Greek or even further back in terms of Hebrew, etc., in terms of where these words came from, how they were derived, etc., etc., etc. Now, excuse me, guys. Now, why do I bring up the connection between the word purpose and propose? The reason I do is because many of the people I've met in life are proposing what they would do with their life rather than operating on their or in their purpose for life. Okay. And I want you to think about that for a moment. Okay. I want you to think about whether you are operating based on your purpose or based on your own proposal. Okay. Because there's a massive difference, and that difference makes a difference as pertaining to what other people see of you, whether it be your children, whether it be your spouse, whether it be your potential spouse, etc. So just to share this, I know certain people, okay, I come across people from time to time who want to get married, for example, okay? They would love to have a lifelong partner to marry, okay? And they say to me, look, they're looking for a partner. They're thinking about, certain different people. Let's say it's a guy thinking about certain different females, and they're not sure which one's the right one, okay? And stuff like this for me is kind of interesting, because I take a step back and I say, well, hold on a minute. Are all these people you propose, or they're people who are part of your purpose? Okay. And this, again, looking at relationships is a great way to start to decipher, dissect, break this concept down in terms of our lives, because we do the same thing sometimes in our life. We want to have a new job. Someone wants a new job. They might apply to several different places, and 3 or 4 places come back and say, you know what, you got the job. And what some people do is they start mulling over, like, which one is the right one. And it's interesting when that happens, because are you operating out of purpose, or are you operating out of what you propose? Okay. Because when a man proposes to a woman and says, will you marry me? For example, he's making an attempt at acquisition. And when someone's operating in purpose, they're not making an attempt at acquisition. It's more like operating in faith. Hebrews 10 verse 38. What they're actually doing is they're saying, you know what? I'm laying hold on what I know is already for me, because this is my purpose, okay, which is different to when you're saying to someone, would you marry me? Okay. Now, if you're saying, would you marry me, and you already know the answer, that's a bit different, okay, because you're being courteous, you're asking the question. And again, I'm not someone who's advocating that men should not propose. I'm not that guy, all right, but I'm just giving you guys an analogy for you to see from this analogy how things operate in our day-to-day world, and how they can be utilized as a framework to understand exactly what we're talking about as it pertains to purpose. Okay. So purpose and propose, good words to go and have a look at in terms of the foundations of those words, and start to ask yourself, does this connect to me? Is this got any relevance to how I've been living? Have I been living based on my purpose or based on how I've proposed? Now, with all of that being said, let's jump into some helpful questions to get us started as we talk about purpose on a deeper level. One of the helpful questions to think about is, how are you living right now? Okay. Many people don't ever ask themselves that question. How am I living right now? Am I living in a way I like? Am I living in a way I desire? Am I living in a way that I believed I would be living 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 100 years ago, when I said to myself, I'm going to start this journey of life? How am I living right now? Okay, this is the first question I want to share with you guys, because I want people thinking about this. I want people to consider to themselves, how are they actually living right now? Are they living in a way that they desire to live? Or are they living in a way that someone has convinced them to live? Okay, and I want you to really think about that, because there are so many people in the world who aren't living the way they desire to live, who are living the way they've been convinced, told, sold to live. Okay, so how are you living right now? Great question to ask yourself. Another question: what are your one day wishes? Okay, what are your one day wishes? What are the things you hope to one day achieve? What are the things you hope to one day do? What are your one day wishes? Okay, yesterday my wife and I watched a film, a very interesting film. Not yesterday, day before yesterday. We watched a very interesting movie. I don't remember the title, so I won't be sharing the title with you guys. I do apologize. If you're interested in the title, write the word title in the chat, and I can find that for you, and have that in the comments, or respond to your comments with that. Or if Mrs ICanWin is on the stream, she can hopefully share it. So, what are your one day wishes? This film we watched about 2 days ago was an interesting film, because it dealt with how human beings make choices all of our lives. But then when we get to pivotal points in our life, if we had the opportunity to reassess those decisions we make, those choices we take, we potentially may go back and desire to change them. But the problem is, in the film, the person was able to go back and make the changes. But in real life, we are not able to actually go back and make those changes. And I want to make a clear distinction about that, because again, some of us watch films and believe it's okay to mess up your life living based on what you propose instead of your actual purpose, because one day you'll be able to go back and fix it all. And again, that's those people who believe in reincarnation, and a few other, belief systems that believe that. But the reality is, you're not going to have the opportunity to go back and fix or change your life. Okay, you have right now. I'll give you another example. I've got a connection on LinkedIn who me and the person have been messaging each other about speaking, etc. And I said to the person, look, just book a call, let's have a chat. The person said, they're not sure if they want to have a chat because of some reason. And I said to them, okay, no problem. Let me know when you want to have a chat. And they said, at some point in the future. And I said, that's interesting. But just remember, the future is not promised. Okay, today is what we have. And I want to share that with you, because it's exactly the same. If you were to leave this earth tomorrow, based on the two questions we've asked already, how are you living right now? What are your one day wishes? Would you be able to be comfortable leaving this earth having only achieved, or having achieved only what you've achieved? Okay. And for some of us, that's going to be yes. And for many of us, it's probably going to be no. And the reason I ask the question is because, again, I want you to ask yourself, are you living on purpose, or are you actually just living out of what you've proposed? Okay. Let's keep going a bit deeper with these questions. That is better. Apologies, guys. Okay. An even better question is, how do or have your one day wishes served you? Okay. How have your one day wishes served you? And again, it's another question I want us to think about. I want us to really take this to heart. Like, do we have one day wishes that have been beneficial and productive for us? Good morning, champ. Or do we have, you okay? Love you. All right, guys. So we've got my oldest son who's waking up and who's opening the office door and leaving it open. But it's all good. Like I said, guys, this is the power of purpose. All right. So how do your one day wishes, or how have your one day wishes actually served you? I've got Mrs ICanWin in the chat who says, amen. Thank you for joining us this morning, sir. Okay. How have your one day wishes actually served you? Again, it's another powerful question to ask yourself. Now, when I was, and I'll get into this a little bit for you guys to see exactly what I'm talking about. When I was 11, 12, 13, I realized I was an extremely ambitious young person, okay? I desired to own a Lamborghini I wanted to buy myself a Lamborghini for my 21st birthday, okay? So when I was 11, 12, 13, I had 10 years to make that happen. That was my desire. That was one of my one-day wishes. Now, let's jump into this a little bit because I want to give you guys some real value. When I was 11, 12, 13, and had this desire to buy myself a Lamborghini at the age of 21, I didn't realize how that one day wish was going to serve me at that age. So let me break down exactly how it served me, okay? That one day wish was a key contributor to the fact that I decided to walk down a path of crime. Okay, and I want to share this, and I want to be very, very transparent with you guys. This is, again, our family channel. This is a place where we're very open, very transparent, very vulnerable to you guys as the community, and we want to continue to do that. But that was one of the things that happened to me as a young child. As a young child with a great and lofty ambition and no necessary direction in terms of how to achieve that ambition, I decided to walk down a path of crime. Now, let me break this down to you, because you might have a young man, a young boy, a young person in your sphere of influence. Obviously, we just had my oldest son just open up the door, say good morning. This is, I guess it's key. For me, it's key. I don't believe in coincidences, so I guess it's key. So I'll go down this path for a moment or two in order to give you guys value in this regard. And guys, if you are getting value from this so far, just write the word value in the chat. Let me know that you guys are getting value on this day 2 experience. Now, at the age of 11 and 12, okay, check this out. I had this massive desire, this one day wish, let's call it that. I had this one day wish to buy myself a Lamborghini for my 21st birthday. That's my one day wish. Now, you guys know, whether it was 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, Lamborghinis have been and will be, expensive items. So let's call that 200,000, 300,000, whatever. You pick the number, but we're in the hundreds of thousands, okay? Hopefully everybody knows we're in the hundreds of thousands. Ellie Ballroom, thank you for your comment stating value. Now, if you want to acquire a Lamborghini, which costs £100,000, and your dad doesn't have a Lamborghini, okay, or your mum doesn't have a Lamborghini, nobody has a Lamborghini, what you might do, if you're like me, if you're a logical thinker, okay, and again, I don't know if this is normal, or I don't know if this was just me and being crazy as a child, I don't know, but what you might do is you might start logically deducing your probabilities, because this is how I got into statistics. I think I started at a young age. You might start logically deducing your probability of being able to acquire exactly what you want. Okay, and this is what I was doing at 11, 12, 13. I didn't know I was doing this, but definitely I can assure you this is what I was doing. So I looked at my dad. My dad didn't drive a Lamborghini. I looked at my mum didn't drive a Lamborghini. Looked at my uncles and aunts, and none of them were driving anything really flashy. Okay, now again, one thing I've now learned, and I'll share this because I want to be transparent with you guys, what people drive, what people wear, what people look like is not a determining factor of their wealth. Okay, it took me a long time to actually work that out as a child, but nonetheless, at the age of 11, 12, 13, having this ambition, this one day wish to buy myself a Lamborghini by the age of 21, I looked at my sphere of observation, and I didn't see anyone driving anything flashy except people that were committing crime. Okay, people that were committing crime in my area, people that were doing things that they shouldn't have been doing, getting involved in the wrong thing. Okay, now again, guys, I'm sharing this, and obviously I can laugh about it now because I'm an adult. This was so many years ago, but I want you to be very, very understanding that there may be a young boy, a young girl around you in your current life right now who might be 5, who might be 6, okay, because generations change. They might not be 11, they might not be 12, they might not be 13, who's going through a similar deduction process right now that I was going through when I was 13, when I was 11, when I was 12. And the problem is, if there isn't someone to come and stand by their side, to come and guide them, to kind of show them, look, listen, this is how it works. This is what you're looking for. This is how you can achieve your one day wishes. These are where your one day wishes are supposed to come from. The Bible says, I believe in the book of Psalm, chapter 14, it says, God will grant you the desires of your heart. Okay, or maybe I'm just thinking about the verse in verse 1 where it says, the fool says there is no God. Let's just check quickly I'm sure it's in Psalm chapter 14. If I'm wrong, we can find that out later on for you guys. Verse 1, the fool hath said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. They have done abominable works, none that do of good. Okay, can't see it right now. So maybe it's in a different verse, but we can definitely find that for you. Actually, let's do it now. Like I said, we might as well give what we said we're going to give. So, God will give you the desires of your heart is found in Psalm 37 verse 4. Excuse me, not Psalm chapter 14. Delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. Okay, so that's Psalm 37 verse 4. Now, again, going back to this, reason why it's so important is because if you have a young person around you who you can help to understand where their desires are supposed to be coming from, if you a young person who you can help to understand what kind of things are good for young people to desire, etc. Like, just to give you an example, today we have our first ever family Bible and breakfast session where we're going to have some young people who we're going to be able to impact, as well as some adults in terms of parents, in terms of supporting them understand the generation we're in and how they can protect their children, but not only protect their children, how they can set up their families in order to move forward in success. Now, I'm looking forward to the session. We're probably going to stream it on YouTube as well live. But guys, I want you to understand that it's crucial. Okay, if you're a parent, even if you're not a parent, it is crucial to understand how important purpose is and how you influence other people's purpose. So I digress. Let me go back into the point. So at the age of 11, 12, 13, I've now looked at my view of the world, the people that I can see from my vantage point. And I can see, you know, there's famous people, rich people. I can see that there are people, you know, who are, you know, talented musicians, etc. All of these kind of different categories of groups of people who have Lamborghinis, but all of these people are more than arm's length away from me. All of these people are people who are, you know, on the TV. I'm seeing these people through media channels. However, in my immediate circle, the only people I saw who looked as though they had that level of wealth, or they were at least en route probabilistically towards that level of wealth of Lamborghini age of 21, were people doing the wrong thing, people committing crime. And you know, did I know they were committing crime? Yeah, I knew they were committing crime. You know, I take full responsibility for my actions when I was growing up. But the point was, from a statistical probabilistic viewpoint of what I was seeing, I decided that the best path in order for me to achieve my lofty one-day wish of having a Lamborghini at the age of 21 was to follow whatever they were doing. And this is the reason I ended up going down a path of committing crime as a young child. Now, guys, I want to say this to you, okay? Again, we didn't get into this just for the sake of it. We got into this asking a question. How have and how do your one-day wishes serve you? Okay, now what you've got to understand is, if I have a unpurpose related one-day wish, okay, that one-day wish can cause me to deviate. We spoke about yesterday in terms of aviation and also in terms of sailing. We spoke about how does a boat sail, how does a plane fly. Guys, that one-day wish that's outside of my life's purpose can help me to deviate by 1 degree, 2 degrees, 3 centimeters, 4 centimeters away from the actual purpose I was created for. And as a direct byproduct, that can result in me ending up cities away, countries away, decades away, weeks away, months away, years away from the actual purpose God has created me for. So guys, this stuff is important to understand, and sometimes we have to ask ourselves some of these questions I'm talking about, specifically maybe even the last one I just asked. How do your one day, or how have your one day wishes actually served you? Okay, how do they serve you? Are they actually being productive towards you? Are your one day wishes helping you, or are your one day wishes hurting you? I think that's a great question to ask yourself. Now, there are some assumptions I'm making on this 14-day process, and I want to share those assumptions with you. I'll bring up the chat as well, just to see if you guys have got any comments or questions at this stage. We are going to do a Q&A at the end of this session. as we should be doing on the end of every session. So if you've got questions about purpose, questions about what I'm speaking about specifically, let me know. Chat's just loading up. All right, cool. Yeah, I think I'm up to date with the chat. Okay. But again, guys, if you've got comments, feel free to use the live chat side by side with that. Feel free to chat, or feel free to write your comments in the comment section below if you're watching this on a replay. So here's some of the assumptions I'm making here as we go through this 14 days on purpose. The first assumption is that you were made for a purpose. That's the first assumption I'm actually making on this series. Okay. I don't think you were made by accident. Okay. I don't obviously believe in the Big Bang concept. As an avid reader of the Bible, it doesn't talk about the Big Bang. So I don't believe that we were all made by accident. Okay. Which is what the Big Bang purports. I believe we were purposefully created. Okay. So I assume and believe, I'm making an underlying assumption on these 14 days. And I want you to be aware of the assumptions I'm making so you can get the most value out of this journey, or you can decide if this journey is not for you or for you. The first assumption I'm making is that we were all made for a purpose. Okay. Another assumption I'm making is that your purpose is known by someone. Okay. That's another assumption I'm going to be making throughout these 14 days. Your purpose is actually known by someone. Now, that someone might not be you, and that's okay. All right. When I was 11 years old, I don't think I knew my life's purpose. I'm just being very, very transparent. I don't think I was aware of my life's purpose, but I know someone knew my life's purpose when I was young, 11 years old, etc. All right. So that's my second assumption, that your purpose is actually known by someone. My third assumption is your knowledge of your purpose will provide you with a level of value. Okay. Now, if you take the scenario that I just gave you guys about myself at 11 years old, I had a desire that in 10 years, I wanted to buy myself a Lamborghini. That one day wish had an opportunity to serve me, whether positively or negatively. And what I want you to understand is, in my deduction, okay, based on how I saw things, it ended up serving me negatively. Okay, I hope that makes sense. All right. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because I want you to understand that your purpose, the moment you know it, can serve you as well. Okay. And this is something we kind of alluded to yesterday. We spoke about yesterday, but I want to make it very, very clear today. Your purpose is going to help you. Your purpose is going to set you up. Your purpose is going to energize you. Your purpose is going to bring a motivation, an inspiration that many other things in your life will not, cannot, should not bring. And this is why a lot of people are demotivated about their life. This is why a lot of people aren't happy about what they're doing. This is why a lot of people lack energy in what they're doing, because of the fact that they don't understand their purpose and they don't have that extra power, that extra battery pack, that extra charge that purpose gives you, that knowledge of your purpose gives you. Let me not say purpose, because it's actually just the knowledge. All right. And again, yesterday and the day before, I spoke about the 3 groups of people this 14-day process is for. And all 3 groups of people need the knowledge of their purpose, or they need their purpose activated within them, or they need their purpose manifested. They're the 3 groups of people, based on the definitions I gave yesterday and the day before, that this resource is actually for. This resource is for people who need a knowledge of their purpose, okay, so they can take that energy that it's going to give them, or they need their purpose actually activated, okay, so that someone who maybe kind of understands they've got a purpose, kind of has an idea of what it is, but they need it fueled, they need it fired up. You see, that person needs their purpose activated. Or the last group of people, the people who I described, were people who potentially know their purpose, but just know that there's more to it. They know they need to launch off to another level. And they're the third group of people. They're people who don't just need it activated, they need it manifested. Okay, so those are the assumptions that I'm making. Okay, and I want you guys to be aware of those assumptions so you don't hear this stuff and lose sight of where we're going with this. Okay, so you are made for a purpose. Your purpose is known by someone, and knowledge of your purpose will be of extreme value to you. It will provide value to you. Now, when you think about those assumptions I'm making, you can then come back to something I shared earlier and marry these 2 concepts and ideas together. Now, these 2 concepts and ideas, or the concept and idea I'm talking about specifically, is the concept and idea of your specific proposal and your specific purpose. Okay, so when I was 11, I had proposed to live a life in order to acquire a Lamborghini at the age of 21. That was my proposal, but that was not my purpose. Okay. And the problem sometimes when we live out focused on a proposal rather than our purpose is all of the things I've just mentioned are my assumptions. We don't get to glean from them. We don't get to acknowledge that maybe someone else knows something better than the Lamborghini at the age of 21 that I should be striving for. We don't get the fuel, the energy that is imputed just by knowing the exact thing we should be focused on rather than the thing we are actually focused on. Okay. We also miss out, okay, on the fact that we don't even at times recognize that we have a purpose. We have an alternative to what we're actually focusing on. I shouldn't be focusing on the Lamborghini for the age of 21 because I should be focused on something else. And you know, the reality, if I was more focused on my purpose at the age of 11, a Lamborghini at the age of 21 may have been something easy to acquire. May have been something someone just gives me because they're like, this guy is operating at a level no one else is operating on. And this is another gem for you, those of you, again, who are taking notes. When you operate on your purpose, you look considerably, significantly different to most other people. Why? Because you're doing what most other people are not doing. Okay? You're walking out the exact thing that you were created to do. Again, it's like an iPhone versus an Android phone. Okay? If you try to use an Android phone the way you use an iPhone, you are not going to get the best out of the Android phone. That Android phone probably will not even unlock. Okay. And I think that's a good assertion. So Apple, for example, may have their fingerprint reader on the bottom center of the phone, just as an example. Okay. And as I say this, guys, I might not be looking at the camera because I've got a phone in my hand and I'm actually checking, you know, what I'm saying out. So you might have an Apple device where their fingerprint scanner is at the center bottom of the camera or of the phone screen. Okay. Whereas you might have an Android phone where the fingerprint scanner is right at the back of the phone screen. Okay. Or right at the back of the phone. Now, if you keep walking up to this phone and putting your finger on the bottom center of the front of the screen, that phone's not going to open up for you. You're basically going to have a slimline brick in your hand because that's all it's going to be useful for. Because if you keep trying to unlock a phone by pressing somewhere which isn't the place for your fingerprint to be scanned, you know what's going to happen? Exactly what's happening here. It's called nothing. Nothing is going to happen. Okay? But if you recognize, well, hold on a minute, this particular device, for the purpose it was created, the way you unlock this device is by pressing here, where the fingerprint scanner actually is. You change the whole game. You start getting the best out of the resource. And this is the problem for many of us. For many of us, we've been sold a bag of lies that the way we're supposed to live is like an iPhone, for example, when actually you're an Android phone, for example. Okay. And this is why it goes back to what I shared yesterday on day one, that your purpose is more important than you as a product. Okay. The rationale behind this phone manufacturer's decision to put their fingerprint scanner in a certain place, the purpose behind why they put it where they put it is more important than where they've actually put it. Why? Because when I know why they put it where they put it, I'll know where it is. Whereas if I've just got the product in my hand, I could spend days trying to work out where the fingerprint scanner is, especially if I didn't know what a fingerprint scanner was. Okay, a biometric scanner, etc. So guys, I want you to understand exactly what we're talking about. And this is why I started today by reading Hebrews 10:38 and sharing with you guys that the just shall live by faith. Because at 11 years old, you may not know why you are striving for something different to a Lamborghini at the age of 21. You may not know why you want something different. You may just think, oh, this particular parent, this particular coach, this particular mentor, this particular family member is encouraging me to really look to God and seek to God for my life's purpose. But I just want a Lamborghini. Okay. And you might not see the value, the relevance, but I'm here to share with you guys that part of the relevance is so we don't spend our lives doing this. Okay. And I'm going to give you one terminology, which this is. This is called being ineffective. Okay. And for many people, they spend their life being ineffective, tapping the wrong place in their life, spending their life trying to achieve something that is unachievable because it's what they propose and not their purpose. Okay. And I want us to be very, very mindful of this as we go forward in today's session. So if you guys have got questions, feel free to start throwing your questions in. I mentioned already that faith is a fundamental currency in the effective pursuit of your purpose. And at this point, what I'm going to do, I'm going to open it up for questions. I'll take the questions in a short while, but it's currently open for questions. So feel free to throw any questions you have about purpose in the chat. Whilst you do that, we are going to start speaking about the specific person in the Bible that I wanted to cover on today's session. So I shared with you guys Hebrews chapter 10 verse 38. I said that the just shall live by faith. And I believe there is no better person in the Bible to look at their life in terms of understanding faith than Abraham, okay, or also known, the man formerly known as Abram. So before Abraham was named Abraham, he first had a different name, and his first name was Abram. And Abraham is known as the father of faith. He's known as that because in the Bible, they basically describe him as that, okay? So who was Abraham? Who was this person? And I think this is a great question for us to ask in order for us to start to understand how we can learn about purpose from Abraham's life. Now, Abraham was a groundbreaker in his pursuit of purpose, okay? As a man who spent many years challenged without the physical fruits of his dreams, okay? So similar to myself at the age of 11, saying, I want that Lamborghini, I want that Lamborghini, I want that Lamborghini, hitting 21 and not having that Lamborghini. You know, you can imagine if things didn't change for me, how distraught I could have been, spending 10 years pursuing something and never seeing the physical manifestation. Abraham was that guy, okay? But even on a deeper level, okay, the reason Abraham was that guy on a deeper level is because he wasn't striving for his proposal. He was actually striving for God's purpose for his life. He actually wanted every single day of his life to have what God told him he should have, okay? But again, he was challenged without seeing the physical fruits of his dreams, okay? Now, one of the great things is Abraham persisted both in positive and negative ways towards his goals, okay? Now, those of you who have read the story of Abraham in the book of Genesis, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. For those of you who haven't read, I'll give you an example. Abraham was promised that he would be the father of many nations, and he had no children with his wife Sarai, who became Sarah. Now, although Abraham had no children for so many years, what Abraham decided to do was sleep with one of his maids, okay? Sleep with one of his wife's handmaids, which is basically, you can just say one of his maids. And he didn't do this because he loved the maid. He didn't do this because he thought it was let me not even go into it. I don't want to elaborate on that. But Abraham decided to sleep with his wife's handmaid, to sleep with his maid, in order to help God. Okay, and I want you to write that down, because that will help you realize sometimes we do things thinking we're helping God along, helping our purpose along, but don't realize we're actually hurting our purpose, okay, rather than helping our purpose. And I want you to be mindful of that, okay? And again, it goes back to the question I asked earlier. How are our one day wishes? How are our one day wishes serving us or helping us, okay, if they are at all? So Abraham persisted both in positive and negative ways towards his goals. At one stage, Abraham was so keen to materialize his purpose that he deviated from the proper approach to having a child within wedlock and slept with his wife's maid in his attempts to pursue his life's purpose. Okay, so Abraham didn't do this to have fun. Abraham didn't do this hashtag Bill Clinton, to have a piece on the side. Abraham did this because of a simple fact. Okay, Abraham did this for the simple fact that his interest was to help God pursue what God told him he was going to do as his last purpose. He was with his wife for a very long time, a number of decades. They weren't having children. So he said, well, look, if I sleep with the maid, maybe we can have a child and God's purpose and plan will be fulfilled that way. So I want to ask you a question, and that question is, have you deviated from your core values? Okay, have you deviated from your core beliefs and your core desires in attempts to rush your purpose and dreams along? Okay, because I think that's a key question for us to start thinking about. Many people, they don't pursue what God desires them to pursue. And then even worse, many people attempt to pursue what they believe their purpose is, but not the right way, by finding their own way of actually doing it. So I want to ask you that question, okay? Are you the kind of person who's deviated from your core values? Have you deviated from your core beliefs or even your core values, beliefs or desires in order for you to try to achieve, or rush along the purpose that God has for you, to bring your dreams kind of to pass, okay? So I know that I have done that, okay? Admittedly, a number of years ago, whilst I was still in a full-time employer, and whilst I was still in full-time employee as a teacher, I endeavored to take on several additional responsibilities in a hope of increasing my salary, okay? And that was one of the ways that I attempted to radically kind of push my purpose along, bring my dreams closer, as it were, okay? Now, although I had the hope to increase my salary, okay, I was also aware that my passion had left the conventional state school education arena, okay? So you got to think about this. You are no longer desiring to actually work in an arena, but you're taking on more and more responsibilities. Does that actually make sense? I want people to think about that, because people do this all the time, okay? They lose the heart to work in a specific space, to work in a specific arena, or to work in a specific area. And even though they've lost the zeal, the desire, they still start doing more things in that area. Again, doesn't make much sense. But again, like I said, I'm guilty of that. This is something I admittedly done. And it's funny, at that time, I was spending my time in a career that I no longer wanted, rather than investing my time in the road towards my purpose. And I want people to be aware of that, okay? Because I don't want you to be doing that. I don't want you to be the person who's doing now what I was doing all of those years back, and not realize that you should stop doing that because it's a waste of your time. It's not fruitful activity, okay? It's not what we just read in Psalm chapter 1. It's not, if you break it down to its descriptive factors, it's not helping you. It's not going to support you. And I think that's a really important thing to bear in mind. So let's ask ourselves another question. That was a little bit about Abraham and also a little bit about me, but let's ask ourselves another question. And this question is, what made Abraham successful in his pursuit of purpose? Okay, what were the characteristics that made Abraham successful? Because it's one thing to say, oh, look, Abraham, he's known as the father of faith, but hold on a minute, this guy made a mistake, okay? He flopped, okay? And part of the way that he flopped is he tried to push his future along. He tried to manifest his purpose as fast as possible. He rushed it. He tried to rush it, okay? And like I said, I've done that. So if you're guilty too, don't be afraid to be here. You're in the right place, okay? Many of us may have made that mistake. So let me start talking about what made Abraham successful, because that's what we're here for. We're here to get better, to do better, to get stronger, to get wiser. And hopefully by me giving you some of these keys, I'll put you in the right position to be able to do that. All right. Great big thank you to everyone who's commented on the show so far. We appreciate your comments. We appreciate your likes, etc., etc. And by you guys hitting like, what you're doing is you're telling the YouTube world that this is some good content for people to watch and for people to learn from. So feel free to continue to hit the like button if you're tuning in. And side by side with that, you can hit the share and let other people know that this content is happening right now. So let's jump in. Key number one, okay? Key number one in terms of what was done specifically by Abraham that made him successful in his pursuit of purpose, okay? The first one I'm going to share is that Abraham was known for various characteristics, okay? So as a person, as we read through the book of Genesis, specifically the chapters, you know, some good chapters to read if you're someone who's interested in working out a bit more about Abraham, 14, Genesis chapter 14, 15, those earlier chapters in the book of Genesis which speak about Abraham's life are great places to get started, starting to understand about Abraham, how he lived, etc., and start to pull out and extract the real gems about his pursuit of purpose. Now, one of the key characteristics that Abraham was known for, which is the one I'm going to focus on rather than all of the characteristics he was known for, and as you read through the Bible, not only Genesis but all the way to the book of Revelation, you can see so many other aspects of about Abraham, because the Bible, again, it refers back to Abraham in the book of Hebrews. It refers back to Abraham in several other places in the Bible. So Abraham's a great person to think about his life and use it as a template and a model as we think about purpose and how we can successfully pursue our purpose. So one of the core characteristics Abraham was known for, and actually he's actually described as being a friend of God because of this characteristic, was the fact that Abraham was commented to be able to be one that would teach those following him, okay, the things that he would learn. Okay, so the first thing I want to share with you is one of the key characteristics for pursuing your purpose is being someone who is Hebrews 10:38, the just shall live by faith, someone who's just, okay, to a degree that you know what you are learning, what you are experiencing is appropriate for you to now teach your community. Okay, so Abraham got his community involved. I want you to understand that. Okay, Abraham got his community involved. Excuse me. Abraham got his community involved. Now, if you want just, a word or two words, excuse me. Apologies, guys. Okay. There's more. Hold on, guys. Excuse me. All right, we're back. So, first key characteristic of Abraham, which really shows us how he was successful at pursuing his purpose, is that Abraham was known by the characteristic of being one who would teach his family, who would teach his followers, who would teach his community. So Abraham got his community involved. One of the things I want you to understand about that is the kind of people that get their community involved, the kind of people that share information, teach and train people. Many a times, if it's done out of the right heart, if it's done out of justice, if it's done because of the fact that that particular person knows that's part of their purpose, you see, these people are not selfish people. This is something you need to think about. If you are attempting to successfully pursue your purpose, one of the things you're going to need to understand, okay, I'm just sharing it with you because I want you to understand this, is that you should not be someone who is selfish. Okay, now I'm going to tie this up with other things because I want you guys to see exactly what I'm talking about here. You see, I shared with you guys earlier, at the age of 11, my biggest desire was to acquire a Lamborghini for myself at the age of 21. Okay, I had no, guys, I'm just going to be very, very transparent with you guys. I want you guys to understand this. I had no intention to donate a Lamborghini or give away a Lamborghini or have a Lamborghini so I could drive people around. Guys, I wanted a Lamborghini for myself. It was a selfish desire. Okay, now, am I saying having a Lamborghini is wrong and everyone who has a Lamborghini is doing something wrong? No, guys, please do not misconstrue what I'm saying. What I'm saying is my analysis, looking back with hindsight and foresight now, of when I was 11 or 12 or 13 and desired with the lofty ambition at the time to own a Lamborghini at the age of 21, what I didn't realize is my motivation was selfish. Okay, my motivation was not selfless, it was selfish. So again, this was something I had proposed. It was not something that was part of my purpose. Okay, and I want us to understand that. So one of the key characteristics Abraham is known for throughout the whole Bible is he was a man who would share, train, teach, and equip his community with the things he had learned, with the things he believed, with the things he knew to be right, with the justice that he was operating in. Okay, now I don't want to be this strong, but I want to ask this question. Are you that kind of person? Are you the kind of person who is selfless in terms of your understanding of why you're here on this earth, who is going out of your way to support other people, to help other people in your community so they understand the value of their life, so they understand the value of their contribution, they understand the value that they're supposed to bring to their community, which again enriches all of our communities. Let me share something with you I heard from Jim Rohn a number of years ago. Okay, Jim Rohn has passed away now, but he was a business philosopher. And one of the things, I've got quite a few Jim Rohn books in my house. I really like his way of teaching. One of those books is The 5 Major Pieces to the Life Puzzle, and I could go on and on, but that's a quick recommendation for those of you who like reading like I do. Now, Jim Rohn said something which was very, very powerful. He said his mum taught him, when you go to a hotel, his mum and dad taught him, when you go to a hotel, when you stay in a hotel and you leave the hotel room, turn out the lights. Okay. It's a simple concept. Okay. It's a simple concept, which many of us would be like, who cares whether the lights are left on or off? Listen to this, please. This was something that was very powerful for me at the age of 18 when I heard this, because it helped me realize I should change how I was living. Okay. Jim Rohn said his dad and his mum taught him, when you leave a hotel room, turn out the lights. Okay. And he asked the question, why should I turn out the lights? His parents explained to him, when you turn out the lights, you leave a positive contribution to the marketplace. You leave a positive contribution to the hotel, to the environment. Okay. Always leave a positive contribution to the environment. Now, check this out. Some people will say, I paid too much for that hotel room. Why should I now turn off the lights? Some people would say, I paid to be able to turn the lights on and leave them on even when I leave. Okay. People will have all these different ways and philosophies and ideas of how to summarize whether they should or shouldn't turn the lights off. Okay. Jim Rohn said his parents explained this to him. If you turn out the lights, that hotel manufacturer potentially spends less on their electricity bill. If they spend less on their electricity bill, that could come back around to you the next time you stay in that hotel, because they now can decide to lower the room rate. Okay. Now, again, most people who go to conventional schools are not taught this stuff. I taught in conventional state schools in the UK for a number of years, and I can guarantee you there was nowhere in the curriculum where it taught the children or asked us as teachers to deliver to the children the concept of adding value to an environment or adding value to a community. Okay. But this was one of the core characteristics that the Bible describes about Abraham and about his life. The fact that Abraham was someone who was adding value to his community. Abraham was engaged in teaching. Apologies. Abraham was engaged in training and education. Okay. And I want you guys to be aware of that. Abraham was engaged in training and education. He was characterized as a person who would teach, train, and equip those people under his care, who would teach, train, and equip those people who are part of his family, who would teach, train, and equip those people who are part of his entourage and part of his community. Guys, I want you to understand that characteristic is fundamental as we go on this journey, looking at purpose and looking at how you can effectively, powerfully pursue purpose. I want you to understand that that is one of the characteristics that I would encourage you to start to work into yourself. Be the kind of person who's engaged in training and education of your community about the things that you know we need, about the things that you know are necessary, about the things that you know because of your purpose. Okay, that's the first thing. All right. Abraham was successfully characterized as one who would teach his community. Okay. So guys, I want you to think about that. We've got a great comment which came in a moment ago before I go into some more of the characteristics or some of the principles that show Abraham's success in his pursuit of purpose. Mrs ICanWin says, if we think of success as money only, our purpose can be compromised. And I think that is so true. Okay, because I think so many people do that. So many people pigeonhole, okay, their success. And again, guys, if you guys are getting value, hit the like button, press subscribe, hit the bell notification. But so many people pigeonhole their success into money. And because they pigeonhole their success into money, like I did at the age of 11, okay, saying, oh, I want this shiny object, which is just about having enough money to buy it. The problem with that is we lose sight of what we're actually here for. We lose sight of the value we can bring. We lose sight of the fact that I can create, produce, and offer, and even give away for free more than £300,000 worth of value by integrating and interweaving my life with my actual purpose. Okay. So also, Kimwe, thank you for that share. Powerful comment shared in the chat. So guys, again, if you're watching this on replay, feel free to leave your comments on in the comment section. We're open, you know, we always want to read every single comment. We always respond to comments as well. and we want to engage with you guys as a community. And again, if you're live and you're watching this, and you're tuned in and you're getting value, just let us know. Write the word value, or, or just share what you're actually learning, share what you're seeing, share your key takeaways. I'm always keen to hear and see what people are getting from what we share. So the first thing we see, which I believe was a key contributor to Abraham's success as a person pursuing his purpose, was the fact that he was characterized as a person who would share, teach, and train his community. Second thing, which I think we see, which again was a key contributor to Abraham's success in pursuit of his purpose, was Abraham was aware of what he was promised from God. Okay, so he was promised, from God. Again, I believe this is roughly in Genesis chapter 15, that his purpose was to be a father. That was his purpose. That was what he was created for. Okay. His name was changed from Abram to Abraham. Okay. Father of many nations. Okay. So his name was changed from Abram to Abraham. And the change in his name was to symbolize his actual purpose, was to confirm his purpose. Okay. So he was called to be the father of many nations. He was actually purposed. He was created. Okay. His reason as a product of existing in terms of humanity was in order to fulfill the purpose of being a father to many nations. And obviously it's interesting because I shared with you guys earlier that as you read throughout the Bible, you start to see that Abraham is actually characterized or known as the father of faith, which again makes sense because this fatherhood is kind of really embedded in Abraham's life. But we see here that Abraham knew what God had actually created him for. He was aware of his purpose. And again, this is another key characteristic of people who are successful in pursuing their purpose. Abraham was aware of what he was promised from God. Okay. He was aware of God's promise to him. Again, I don't want to be that person, but I said to you guys yesterday, I am here to be the epitome, to be the description, to be the embodiment of Proverbs chapter 20 verse 5. Let me read it for you if you were not with us yesterday. Proverbs 20 verse 5 says that, rather than paraphrasing it, it says, counsel in the heart of man is like deep water. And we spoke about counsel being similar to purpose. A person's purpose is like deep water. But the rest of the verse says, but a man of understanding will draw it out. So I am taking it upon myself in this 14-day journey, to be that person for you guys, to be the man of understanding who's going to help you draw your purpose out. Okay, so if you're watching this and you haven't yet discovered your life's purpose, that's okay. I don't want you to be on this and be saying to yourself, oh, I don't know what my life's purpose was, so I don't know what God's promise is to me, so I can't be engaged with this. No, you are possibly one of the perfect people to be engaging with this for this 14-day process. Okay, again, which this is day 2 of which. Now, going back into what we were talking about, okay, another component, key contributor to Abraham's success in his life, in his pursuit of purpose, was the fact he was aware of God's promise. Now, if we go back to some of the things I shared earlier in this session, I shared earlier that one of the assumptions I'm making is that your purpose is known by someone. Okay? Your purpose is known by someone. And this is the thing you have to understand. The same way you may not know geometry, the same way you may not know depending on what level you're at, you may not know how to do algebra, okay? But then you go to a school and a teacher tells you, this is how you do algebra at a basic level. This is how you do algebra at a more advanced level. This is how you do algebra in a more complicated level. You see, the same way that happens, and you have a teacher, okay? You have someone else come along and share with you how to execute algebra or how to understand geometry at its basic level or even at a more advanced level is the same way that if you know somebody knows your purpose, you can go and attend the school where someone is going to deliver that purpose to you, or you can go and attend the course, the experience, the whatever it is, the environment. It might be this 14-day process which you're now attending, where your purpose is going to be revealed to you because you decided to show up, because you decided to attend, rather than to continue living a life without knowledge of it. So a key characteristic, a key contributing factor to Abraham's success in his pursuit of his purpose was the simple fact that he knew what God had promised him. Let me ask you that question. Do you know what you've been promised from God? Okay. Do you know what God has promised you? Do you know your purpose for life? Okay. And if you don't, that's okay. It's not, listen, you don't know your purpose, you're a failure. No. It doesn't work like that. If you don't know your purpose on this earth, that's okay. But if you don't know your purpose on this earth and you're not interested in finding it out, that's when it's not okay. All right. Now, if you make the decision purposefully to not find it out, that's okay too, because you've made that conscious decision. But if you just don't know it because you haven't been shown, you don't know it because you're just not aware, you don't know it, but you're interested in finding it out, then you need to participate in things like this. You need to be on this 14-day journey. You need to comment. You need to engage. You need to be a part of this community, because as we go on this journey, what's going to happen is the seeds of your purpose are going to drop on your lap. They're going to start to drop in your mind. They're going to start to drop in your heart. You're going to get to a place where you start to understand, hold on a minute. So this thing that happened was significant towards my purpose? Yes. Okay? Yes, it was. So let's keep going. All right? So the first characteristic that we shared about Abraham, which is a core contributor to his successful pursuit of his purpose, is the simple fact that Abraham was willing and characterized as a person who would teach his community about the things he would learn. Okay. The second characteristic is that Abraham was aware of what God actually had promised him. He was aware of what God wanted his life to be about. Let's go into the third one. The third characteristic that was a key contributor to Abraham's successful pursuit of his purpose was that Abraham worked, and I put this in brackets, both positively and negatively, as I mentioned earlier, on his purpose. Okay. He was serious about working with God. Now, this kind of alludes to our efforts as human beings, okay? Because for many of us, we don't put the effort in to work on our purpose, okay? But Abraham, again, a person who was successful in the achievement of his purpose, a person who was successful in the activity within his purpose, a person who was successful at manifesting his purpose, activating his purpose, and being aware of his purpose. One of the core contributing factors for Abraham was the fact that he was actually working on his purpose. The moment he knew what his purpose was, he was working on it. Okay? Are you working on your purpose? I've got to ask the question. Okay, are you working on your purpose? Now, look, again, you can write the word yes in the chat. You can write the word no in the chat if you want to be that bold. If you don't want to be that bold and that vulnerable in the chat, that's fine. Okay, and that's both to us, those of you who are live with me right now, and those who are watching this on a replay. If you don't want to be that bold, that's okay. But the reality is you've got to find within yourself, I would encourage you to answer that question for yourself. You see, I've had to ask myself that question a few times in my life. And I can categorically tell you guys, I'm guilty as charged. There are times I had to say to myself, Samuel, you're not working on your purpose. Samuel, you're not working on the very reason you were created to be on this earth for. You're not working on it. There are times I've had to say that to myself point blank. Okay. And let me tell you something. It is rich to deal with reality. Okay, the Bible says they shall know the truth and the truth shall make them free. It is rich and fulfilling to deal with reality. Many people do not deal with reality, but I'll say it again, it is rich and fulfilling to deal with reality. So if you have asked yourself that question today, am I working on my life's purpose? And you know your answer is no, that's going to be enriching to you, especially if you actually desire to start working on your purpose. Because what's going to happen is the moment you realize you're not working on your life's purpose, but you know that you desire to work on your life's purpose, if you're like me, you're going to start looking for ways to solve that equation. You're going to start looking for ways to start working on your life's purpose because you haven't been at that specific time or thus far. Okay? So these are 3 of the key characteristics that were paramount to the fuel Abraham used to successfully pursue his purpose. Okay, I'm going to give you guys one more because I want you guys to get a lot of value. So I hope if you're taking notes, your notepads are filling up. Okay. Abraham was characterized as someone who would teach and train his community, teach and train his generations after him. Abraham was aware of what God had promised him. Abraham put his own effort in. He worked. And I want to make that demarcation both positively and negatively towards achieving his purpose. And the reason I want to say this is because I want you guys to understand that if you're doing something right now negative, that's not helping towards your purpose, but you're trying to rush your purpose, you can still achieve your purpose regardless of that. That doesn't write you off. You know, there's people who are in that predicament who will write themselves off. They will say, look, I've just spent the last 4 years. They've just spent the last 10 years. They've just spent the last 20 years doing this stuff that's got nothing to do with their purpose. And let me tell you something. If you were doing that, believing that you are working towards your purpose, it's not over for you. The fact you're still breathing right now, the fact you're engaging with this content right now, the fact that you are still alive right now shows that you can correct and get back on course. You can get back on course. And this is exactly what I was speaking about yesterday, but not in this way. You know, yesterday I shared with you guys about how does a ship sail? How does a plane fly? But you see, today I want to share with you guys that although I spoke about the deviation yesterday, I want to speak today about the correction. Your course can be corrected. The moment you get to a space where you understand, you know what, you've been working on something that isn't pursuing your purpose. You've been working on something that isn't taking you to where you want to go. You can correct your course, you know. But the question to ask in that regard is, will you? The question to ask in that regard is, are you serious about pursuing your purpose now? And will you correct your course? So Abraham was characterized as an individual who would teach his community. Abraham was a person who was aware, very confidently aware of what God had promised him, and that's what his purpose was. Abraham was the same individual who both positively and negatively worked towards, with his own effort, the purpose and promise that he believed he had from God. But the fourth one I want to share with you guys as a key characteristic, which is going to help us all, hopefully, is that Abraham got results. Point blank, Abraham got results. You see, going back to where we started on this session, Hebrews 10 verse 38, the just shall live by faith. Abraham got results. Abraham achieved success. Psalm chapter 1, we said, blessed is the man, okay, who walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, who doesn't sit in the seat of the scorners. You see, Psalm chapter 1 describes what a blessed man looks like. Abraham was a blessed man. He got success. He was empowered to prosper. But you see, the reason Abraham was able to get success and get results is because of the precursor we shared a moment ago, because he was working on his purpose. So when he did something in line with his purpose, he would see the results. He would see, hold on a minute, I got this out of that. I never would have thought I could have got that out of that. He saw the results. And I want to encourage you, if you're with us on this journey, to keep pushing, to be a person who's going to share with your community the truths about your purpose so that they can start to understand and grapple with this truth and start to discover their purpose. I want to encourage you to be someone who's open to understand why you are actually here, who's open, who has an open heart to actually discover what would you put on this earth for, so you can know God's promise to you. I want to encourage you to be a person who goes out of your way to ideally positively work on the purpose that you are actually created on this earth to fulfill. And last but not least, I'm going to encourage you to get results. And I'm going to implore you that you will get results. Getting results is the easy part of the equation. If you do the groundwork, the results are a byproduct. So with that being said, guys, we're going to start to wrap up today's session. I'm opening up for questions. If we've got questions, let those questions start coming in. We have a number of people on the stream. I've said it already. I'll say it again. If you haven't hit that like button, hit that like button. Side by side with that, press the bell notification and the subscribe button if you haven't done that already, so you can let YouTube know that the 14 days on purpose is on the road. It's helping people take their life to another level. So, any questions, guys? Let me see in the chat. Any questions? If there are no questions, that's okay as well. It means that we're doing some good teaching here. We are supporting the community in the right way if there are no questions. But let me know if there's any questions, guys. Leave your questions in the chat. And as you leave your questions in the chat, we'll go through those questions before heading off of this stream. So let me know what questions you guys have for today's session. Side by side with that, guys, if you do not have any questions, let me know if you're learning something. Let me know if you're picking up some stuff that is new, if the content being shared here is insightful to you. I see Ellie Ballroom wrote the word value earlier on, so I know that this content is of value to you guys. Let me know, guys. Are you learning something new? Are there concepts that you've picked up? Okay. What are your key learnings? If we don't have any questions, let's shift into key learnings. What's the key thing you've learned in today's session? What's the key thing you've considered or thought about in today's session? It doesn't have to be something new. It might just be something that you heard something and you was like, oh, that resonates with me. You know what? That stood out to me. Oh, you know what? I've been thinking about that over the last couple of days. I was thinking about this earlier this morning, etc. So what are the key takeaways that you have from today's session? So if there are no questions, what are the key takeaways from today's session? If there are questions, we're still open to questions. Feel free to throw your questions in the live chat. And those of you who are joining us on the replay, the same to you. What is the key thing you're taking away? Write that in the comment section. Or what is the key questions you may have? Write that in the comment section for us also. Okay. All right, guys. So haven't seen any questions come in as such. All good, all good, all good, all good. And so far, we're going to keep it open for a little bit for you guys to share your key takeaways. Now, look, guys, with that being said, I am going to love you guys and leave you guys for today's session because of the fact that I've got to go and prepare for today's family Bible and breakfast, which will probably be live streamed around 1 p.m. The reason we're going to be live streaming that at 1 p.m. is because we want to share with you guys the message that's going to be shared, but unfortunately we can't necessarily share the breakfast over YouTube. But guys, I'm sure you're going to have some great breakfast straight after this session if you haven't had your breakfast already, and I look forward to seeing you at 1 p.m. for the Bible and Breakfast Family Edition stream, or tomorrow morning, hopefully at 8 a.m. whilst we do day 3 of the 14 days on purpose. I'm seeing the comments flooding in right now. We've got comments from Ellie Ballroom who says, how does one discover who knows our purpose? Powerful. That is powerful. Okay, so that is a question. I'm going to come on to that in a moment. And we've got also MKBHD in the chat who says, amen and amen, always living in faith. I love that. Okay, so let's go into Ellie Ballroom's question. Before we wrap up, we will go into that question. Guys, you know, I've got a passion to support. So this is the reason why we allow you guys to ask questions. We're not here to run away. We're here to engage. We're here to support and help the community. And the only way we can do that is by finding out where the community's at with regards to their journey. And specifically in this 14-day series is with regards to your journey in purpose. So let's jump into this. The question from Ellie Ballroom, powerful question, is how do we find out who knows our purpose? Now, I'm going to give you the simple answer and then I'll go into a more technical answer. Now, first and foremost, God I believe knows everybody's purpose. Okay. If we use an analogy that we used earlier on in today's session, rather than the analogy of yesterday's session. Yesterday, I said I'll stop talking about a particular manufacturer so that I can talk about some different manufacturers throughout this process rather than just promoting one manufacturer. But let's say you've got an Android phone in your hand, okay? And we used this analogy earlier, so this is going to be helpful to answer Ellie Ballroom's question, which was, how does one discover who knows our purpose? Now, earlier on in the session, I mentioned that someone knows your purpose, okay? And I said that this was one of the assumptions I'm making. Somebody knows your purpose. I later on, when we looked at the life of Abraham, said that Abraham knew what God had promised him. So let's start there, okay? First thing, if you have a device in your hand, okay, and I'd like you to, if you've got a phone near you, if you've got a tablet near you, I want you to pick it up. I want you to actually have it in your hand, okay? Because what happens a lot of the time is I'll say stuff and we just comprehend it. We try to think about it. I want you to actually engage with this, okay? So if you've got a phone in your hand, okay, I'm going to share something with you which is quite powerful because I didn't know this. I've started using this phone from the 1st of January, this specific phone. And when I started using this phone, I had this case. I bought the case before I bought the phone. So the case was sitting in a box for weeks. And I put this case on the phone last week, I think, okay? And something really hit me. No, it was about 2 weeks ago I put the case on the phone. Something hit me last week, and that was the fact that this case is just generally a black case, okay? It doesn't have much text on it. There's a bit of text here, okay, which says discover innovation, but besides that, it doesn't have any other text on it that I thought. And then last week, this, you got to bear in mind, I put this case on the phone. Last week, I discovered that the actual name of the manufacturer of this case is right here, okay? And guys, it's so small due to the focus on the camera. I don't think we're gonna have to zoom in, and this isn't the right camera for that. We've got our other camera that does that, but the logo of the manufacturer is right here on the side of the case, okay? Now, why am I saying this? I'm going to explain exactly why I'm saying this. The reason I'm explaining this is because if I want to know the purpose of this case, okay, and some of you can see that this case is a little bit different. Yes, it's a slightly different case. If you want to know more about the case, let me know in the chat. We can have the links in the description if you guys want that. But I feel like I'm talking more about the case than the answer to the question. But let's go into this because I want you guys to clearly understand what I'm sharing. This is why I'm elaborating so much. All right. So this case is on this phone, okay? And like I was explaining to you guys earlier, if you assume that this phone has its biometric scanner here, you're going to be pressing this and this is going to become useless, okay? So Ellie Ballroom asked the question specifically, how do we know who knows our purpose? How do we know who knows our purpose is the question Ellie Ballroom asked. Now check this out. If I keep doing this on the case of the phone, expecting the phone to open up and learning, hold on a minute, this is useless. This isn't working. Nothing's happening. It's not unlocking the phone. The next thing I should start to do is examine the actual product, okay? Because by examining the product, what I'm doing is I'm giving myself my best hope of finding out who the producer of the product was. Now, in the case of this case, okay, no pun intended, in the case of this case, I shared with you that when I first put this case on around 2 weeks ago, I didn't actually know the manufacturer's name was actually on the case. But a week ago, I discovered very subtly, embossed here, is actually the case's manufacturer's name. Now, first thing I would say to you is the manufacturer of any product, okay, and again, this is going to be valuable for you guys who are writing notes. The manufacturer of any product is aware of its purpose. That's the first thing I want to share with you, okay? So if you're taking notes, if you're like me and you're taking notes, which you should be on this 14-day journey, write that down, okay? That's something to write down, okay? The manufacturer of the product is aware of the product's purpose. This is the reason why when you buy a product, it comes with a help guide. Okay, these days these help guides are 1 or 2 pages long, especially when you're buying stuff from China. I assume that's just because they're trying to save money. But Ellie Ballroom says in the chat, aha, thank you, Ellie Ballroom. You're picking it up. All right. So firstly, Firstly, the first person that I can guarantee knows your purpose, okay, is the manufacturer of the product, okay? Now, this is part of the problem we have in our generation. Many of us have been deceived, okay, into believing that we have no manufacturer, okay? So if you don't believe we have a manufacturer, and I'm using this word manufacturer, just to give you guys, a realistic way of seeing what I'm talking about. And if you believe that we don't have a manufacturer, if you believe that we were not created, okay, then you're easily and equally never going to realize that the stamp of the manufacturer is on you. You're not going to realize that you actually have the logo of the manufacturer on you. Now, again, being an avid Bible reader, what does it teach us in the Bible? It says to us in the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 26. Let's go there and not paraphrase it. Again, guys, if you're getting value, let me know. Write the word value in the chat. Okay. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. And God said, let us make man, so we are a product of something, okay? And product doesn't mean something disposable. Product means something produced after something else or by someone else, okay? Or by something else, okay? And God said, let us make man in our image, okay? Let's go further. After our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Now I can go deeper into that, and I always feel like I should whenever I read Genesis chapter 1 verse 26, because that's a powerful place in the Bible. It's a powerful verse in the Bible, and I see Mrs ICanWin's comment saying powerful. But Genesis chapter 1 verse 26 tells us that we human beings are created in the image and likeness of God who created us. Now, if we're created in the image and likeness, what that means is we have the logo of God on us. We actually wear that logo on a day-to-day basis, being in his image and being in his likeness. The image of our manufacturer, because a logo is an image, right? The image of our manufacturer is on us, okay? The image of our manufacturer is actually on us, and I want you guys to be aware of that. The image of the manufacturer is on you. Now, I'm slightly digressing because, this is why I always open up for questions, because I don't want to just give you the answer. I want to give you the context, the answer, the insight, so you guys can take it away and really use it. So that's the first thing, okay? If we have a purpose and we're not aware of what our purpose is, the first thing is our creator is aware of our purpose. That's first. That's the first to lock in. The moment you lock that in and you're confident about that, you know that your purpose is known by someone. And again, this was what I shared earlier, is one of my assumptions throughout this 14-day period, that your purpose is known by someone. Okay, so let's go deeper into Ellie Ballroom's question. How does one discover who knows our purpose? So first and foremost, I'm sharing with you guys that our purpose is known by our manufacturer. The creator of this phone case knows the purpose of this phone case. They know exactly the innovation. Remember what I said? It says on the back, discover innovation. Now look, check this out. This is even powerful, okay? This phone case says discover innovation on it, bigger than it actually says the logo. That teaches us something, okay? And there's many devices out there like that, okay? I'll use this cup as an example. Okay, this cup has its message on it, okay, bigger and bolder than the logo of who made the cup, which will usually come under the cup. Okay, I want you guys to start understanding some of the stuff I'm putting down right here, because if you're picking up what I'm putting down, you're going to put yourself in a really great place to understand what we're talking about. Now, it does not always happen that a manufacturer puts its message in a bigger frame than its logo. It doesn't always happen, but it happens a lot of the time. Okay, so again, this is one of the reasons I said, look, if you got a phone next to you, pick up your phone. Okay, now, why would someone put the message on the product bigger than the image of the manufacturer? The reason why is because I shared earlier, I shared yesterday also, the purpose is more important than the product. Okay, discover innovation, this concept that this manufacturer of this case wants us to engage with, is more important to the manufacturer than the actual product, than the actual case. Because if we discover innovation and then associate innovation with this manufacturer, do you know what will happen? We'll keep going back to the manufacturer to discover more innovation because of the purpose, not because of the product. Okay, so again, the purpose is more important than the product. But let's keep going forward. So the example I gave earlier was if you have an Apple phone and the biometric scanner is here, and you have an Android phone and the biometric scanner is not here, and you keep doing this, okay, what are you trying to do? You're trying to unlock the phone, but you're using the wrong phone. Okay, many human beings are doing that today. So the first point of call in terms of answering Ellie Ballroom's question around how does one discover who actually knows our purpose, the first point of call is to understand our creator knows our purpose first and foremost. Now, because our creator knows our purpose, what generally tends to happen, okay, is that our creator decides to share our purpose with those who pay attention. Okay, and I'm going to say that to you. I'll say it again. Don't take this as an insult. Take this as a learning point. All right. Our creator, and you see this throughout the Bible. This is why I'm saying this. I'm not saying this because this is one of my ideas. This is something that is very clear throughout the Bible, and I want people to pick up this concept. Our creator decides to share things with people who pay attention. Okay, so you should write that down. Good morning, champ. Our creator shares things with people who pay attention. Now, what does that mean? Look, I don't want to start jumping into other verses of scripture at this late stage, but we can. I don't mind. But for the sake of this, I'm just going to go to somewhere we've read already. We read it yesterday. We read it today. Proverbs 20 verse 5. Okay. So Proverbs 20 verse 5 is kind of what I'm doing throughout this journey. Okay. Let's read it again. It says, counsel in the heart of man is like deep water. Okay. Now what you've got to bear in mind is men are made in the image of God. Okay. Women, humanity is made in the image of God. That's what the Bible teaches. If we're made in the image of God and counsel, our purpose is actually is like deep water inside of us, then that would mean that our purpose and counsel is like deep water in the heart of God. But what does it go on to say? It says, but a man of understanding will draw it out. So God is interested in sharing our purpose with those of us who pay attention. Okay, those of us who are operating like men and women of understanding, who are interested in drawing it out. And again, this goes back to the core characteristics that we shared earlier, are the successful characteristics that Abraham exhibited for us to learn from. If we pay attention to the people God has shown us knew what to do. Okay, and again, some of you who are tuning into this, who are getting value from this, you're going to get even more value by watching this after you've watched day one's video. Because in day one's video, I was breaking down certain concepts which marry with this. But guys, what you have to understand is if we pay attention to the warnings and the examples that we see here, we become the people of understanding who can now draw out the deep water. And part of the deep water, probably the biggest part of the deep water, is our purpose. So to discover our purpose, it's not rocket science. To get to the answer of Ellie Ballroom's question, how do we know who knows our purpose? We start by knowing the manufacturer knows our purpose. Because what we do by saying to ourselves, I know my manufacturer knows my purpose, I know God knows my purpose, what we do by starting there is we remove any shadow of doubt that our purpose is known. And the reason we need to do that is because Hebrews 10:38 says the just shall live by faith. For many people, they don't have faith that their purpose is known, so they can't even start that journey. So what has to happen is we have to resolve ourselves on the fact that my creator knows my purpose. The creator of the Android phone knows why they didn't put the biometric scanner here. They might have said it makes no sense putting the biometric scanner here because it forces someone to have to use two phones. two hands to use the phone, and I want to create a phone with the purpose that even someone who only has one hand can use the phone. How can I do that? Maybe I'm going to have to put the biometric scanner here at the back, or here at the back, or on the side, or somewhere else. Okay, I hope that makes sense. The minute we start thinking about the purpose and we start thinking about the manufacturer, we start understanding the purpose. So that's the first one. Okay, going back to the first point, just giving you guys a bit more value around that first point. Your manufacturer knows your purpose. If you're getting value, hit like, side by side with that, share this video with other people, hit the bell, and also hit subscribe so you're part of our community. Now, your manufacturer knows your purpose. That's the first one. The second one, your manufacturer generally tends to share your purpose or the product's purpose with those who pay attention. Now, what do I mean by those who pay attention? Look, I'm not in the business of promoting people like this, but what I want you to do, okay, I'll put it in the chat, okay? I want you to go and watch a video. I believe I'm doing this right. So this is a YouTube video that you can go and watch. Okay. You're gonna have to search for it. So whatever I put in the comments, you're gonna have to copy and paste it. But this was a video done by one of the most well-known content creators on YouTube. And his name is Marques. Marques is the creator of MKBHD, which is his YouTube channel, and it's become way more than a YouTube channel. But he's a technology reviewer, and he generally reviews futuristic technology. But he started off by just making simple videos about his laptop years ago when he was very, very young. If you see his videos, they're powerful videos to watch, even from his first video. But MKBHD did an amazing video, which I watched probably about, I don't think it was up to a year ago, but I watched a number of months ago. And in this video, he basically speaks about the Apple ecosystem, okay? The Apple ecosystem, okay? And I'm not saying to you, go watch this video so you can go and buy Apple products, or go watch this video so you can choose to not buy Apple products. No, this is not about sales. This is about you guys understanding the depth of how someone who pays attention, like Marques, will start to see the purpose behind the products, okay? And this is the exact same thing. Someone like me, okay, I may be gifted by God to see some people's purpose because of the simple fact that I pay that much attention, okay? And I'm not saying that to speak about me specifically, but I'm speaking about us. I'm speaking about all of us. You see, as parents, the Bible says in the book of Psalms that our children are like arrows that we're supposed to point in a direction in order for them to flourish. Now, what does that mean? What that basically means simply is that we as parents are supposed to pay so much attention to our Creator in terms of how he produces the product of our children that we're able to share with them their purpose. So parents are supposed to know the purpose of their children. That is a categorical, described, presented, oversubscribed concept shared in the Bible. Okay, if you've been reading the Bible for any amount of time, you will know that several times in the Bible, not once, not twice, not three times, several times in the Bible, parents of children are key collaborators in the sharing of a child's purpose with them. Okay, Samson. Okay, when Samson was born, or before Samson was born, Samson's parents are told Samson's life purpose. Okay, Samson, one example. We could go again. Ellie Ballroom, you've asked a fantastic question. Thank you, because you've just turned this stream into something else. But I'm appreciative because, again, today's session is all about what does purpose look like, and we're getting really deep into what purpose looks like, and predominantly where we start to find our purpose as well, which I think a lot of people need to know the answer to. So thank you ever so much for asking the question. So Samson is one person who we see very clearly in the Bible, who his parents are made aware of his purpose before he's even born. Okay, so why do you think his parents are made aware of his purpose? Because his parents are supposed to be key collaborators in helping him achieve his purpose, according to the book of Psalms, which says we're supposed to point our children like arrows in the direction they're supposed to go. So Samson's a great example, and there are so many other examples throughout the Bible of people, and Samson's one of the people we're going to be talking about throughout these 14 days. So again, it's important that we bring him up right now anyway. So guys, I want you to understand that throughout the Bible, there are several examples of where parents are told. Mary, again, is another example. Mary's told before Jesus was born what Jesus's mission is supposed to be, who Jesus is supposed to be, his purpose upon this earth. So again, this is how in the Hebrew culture, a lot of people are named according to their purpose. Okay. So again, sometimes your name has an attachment to your purpose, or what your purpose was as it was bestowed upon your parents, as it was given an insight of towards your parents. So let's touch these three keys in principle form so you guys understand exactly what I'm saying. Ellie Ballroom asked the question, how does one discover who knows our purpose? First answer, the manufacturer of the product is fully aware of the product's purpose. That's the first thing. The manufacturer of the product is fully aware of the product's purpose. So our manufacturer, our creator, is fully aware of every single one of our individual and corporate purposes. Secondarily, okay, our purpose is also known by those who pay enough attention, those who are keen, who are interested. And like I said, you can go and watch that video that MKBHD has done on YouTube, where he breaks down the Apple ecosystem. And I think that would be really helpful for people, especially if you watched the day one video I did yesterday, for people to start to see that for many of these manufacturers, you know, the Huawei's of the world, the Apples of the world, the Redmi's of the world, the Teslas of the world, for many of these manufacturers, the product you see has nothing to do with the purpose that they have. And you might think that the product has everything to do with the purpose. A lot of the time, a particular product like an electric car can achieve purposes way beyond what an electric car can be conceived to achieve. Okay, because you might start by seeing an electric car, but before you know it, you start seeing a car that drives itself. And these are in a way, two completely different things, but they have integrated synergy. And this is the problem for many of us as human beings, because we look at ourselves like the electric car, but we don't realize that the electric car creates the foundation to the car that drives itself. Okay, an internal combustion engine, a normal car, an engined car as we know it, doesn't give itself the best transition to be in a car that drives itself, as well as an electric car does. Okay, so guys, I want you to understand where I'm coming from, because what many of us do is we look at the electric car and say, that's an electric car, it can only drive on electricity. But we don't realize that by virtue of the fact it's electrical, it becomes just like a large mobile phone. And the same way a mobile phone can do things without your control or remotely, or a computer can do things without your control or remotely, is the same way that a car can do things without your control or remotely. So guys, I want you to start understanding these concepts, because what happens is we live in a world where these concepts are taken away from us because logic is not taught to us, and we don't see how our lives can be compared or synonymized with many of the things we see every single day and we understand every day. And this is why I teach this way. This is why I share things this way. I share things by relating it to resources that we know, that we're comfortable with, resources that we see on a day-to-day basis, resources that we hold in our hand every single day, but yet lack the understanding of how the constructs of these resources relate to the same constructs of our actual every single day life. So first and foremost, your creator, your manufacturer knows your purpose. Secondarily, your manufacturer will share the purpose with those who are interested enough, not just the product. Let me tell you this, the product gets shared with many, but the purpose does not get shared with many. I want you to be aware of that. Your purpose will be shared with those who pay enough attention. And third and foremost, the third thing that I started to allude into, and I didn't really go into too deep, and I don't want to go into too deep, your purpose sometimes is right in front of your eyes. Sometimes the message of your purpose is way bigger than the image of your creator. Guys, with all of that being shared, I know you've got value. Let us know in the chat, what was the most powerful thing you heard? What was the key takeaway from this session? If you're watching this on replay, feel free to let us know in the comments below what you've taken from today's session. I love you guys, and I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow on day 3 of the 14 days on purpose. Take care and have a great day. God bless you guys.